Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. Hey everyone, Kadeem here, and today we're talking about Warren Buffett's 2 rules for investing. But before we go there, if you like the content, you like the video, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it. Now, there's a few things that Warren Buffett teaches us about investing. And first of all, if you don't know who Warren Buffett is, go look him up. Berkshire Hathaway, he's the CEO of that company. In 2020, January, his net worth was about 88 billion. So if you don't know who he is, look him up. Big time investor. But back to it. So Warren Buffett teaches us a few things when it comes to investing. And of course, you want to follow those who know what they're doing. Now, he says a few things. One of the things he says is, if you do not feel comfortable investing in a company for 10 years, you should not feel comfortable investing in it for 10 minutes. Now, this is from him. I'm not arguing. I'm not saying you should, you shouldn't, because I know day trader is a different thing, right? 10 minutes, 5 minutes, however long. But in general, this is his approach. And that's what we're talking about today. There are a lot of people who go into investments just, again, having no clue what they're doing. This company looks good. It's doing well. Okay, let me go try and invest in it. Cool. How does that typically turn out for you if you've done that before? If it turns out good, turns out great, good for you, right? To me, that seems more like gambling, and I believe that's Warren Buffett's methodology as well. Don't quote me on that. But point is, if you do not feel comfortable investing in a company for 10 years, you should not necessarily feel comfortable investing in it for 10 minutes. That makes us look at certain things. We know Apple, we know Google, we know Microsoft, we know Walmart, right? There's a bunch of big companies, Costco, that are going to be around, or that have already been around for a while, that will likely be around for another 10 years. We don't know the future. However, these companies likely are not going anywhere. So when it comes to investments, let's invest in these companies. Let's invest in the Amazons. Let's not necessarily focus on these other companies, which are just kind of starting out. Maybe some of the money that we can invest over there, but our main investment should probably be in these companies over here, right? The Apples, the Googles, the Amazons, and so on. And to illustrate this point a little bit better, Warren Buffett also says it is far better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price, being again, Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, so on, as opposed to buying a fair company at a wonderful price. And that's the methodology of some people, I find, which is let's you know, these investments are cheap, so let's just go with that. How often have you bought something that was cheap and it lasted you? How often have you sacrificed quality for price and it didn't last you very long? Typically, the higher quality things are those that last. Typically, the higher quality companies are those that will pay you. It's just something to keep in mind. Now, to make it a little more clear, let's go back to it. If you don't feel comfortable investing in a stock for 10 years, you shouldn't invest in it for 10 minutes. Let's look at the S&P TSX, right? This represents about 70% of the Toronto Stock Exchange. There's 250 companies in there, roughly. And if we look at March 2020, we see that it went from about 17,800 to about 11,000. That is a 34% roughly drop. So if you had a certain amount of money in there, it likely dropped 34%. Now, if you're doing something called dollar cost averaging, right, buying low, buying high, and so on, and you didn't sell, you kept your money in there. Let's say you even bought at that point. You bought when it went down, right? You bought when it was on sale. It was a 34% decrease, 34% decrease in price. So if you buy at this point, because again, certain companies aren't going anywhere, certain companies that are in this exchange, right, they're not going anywhere. So if you bought at that point and you held it until now, today, right, we're in March 2022 and during the recording of this video, and if you held out, you made about an 86% return on your money. The money that you bought in that down point, you made about an 86% return if you held out until now. That's a big increase. So going back to Warren Buffett's rules, one is never lose money. If you had pulled out money in March 2020 when the market was down, guess what? You lost money. If you held on to it and you waited for it to come back, you likely would not have lost money. If you bought when it was on sale you definitely did not lose money because you increased the amount of shares you had, the amount of units you had, and now you can sell them at a higher price where we are today. So rule number one, never lose money. You didn't lose money just because the market went down. Not necessarily. My viewpoint is, as long as you still have the stock, as long as you still hold your investment, even if the market came down, you didn't pull out. Therefore, you didn't lose money. Because if you leave the money in there and it comes back and it goes up higher than it was before, just like it did this time with the TSX, then guess what? You've made your money back at the very least. Again, it all depends on how much you've invested and so on. This is all theoretical. However, if you do sell when the market is down, you definitely lost money. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, unless you understand limits and so on, puts, holds, all that stuff, right? We're not going to get into that. But if you held on to your investment when the investment came down, then you made sure you stuck to these rules. Warren Buffett's rule number one, never lose money. You didn't lose money because you held on to the investment when it was down, knowing that it will come back. If Amazon, its stock goes down, I'm not selling. Why would I sell? If anything, I'm buying more because I know it's going to come back. There's no company like Amazon out there operating on that level. Not to say there never will be, but there is not currently. If Walmart goes, if their stock comes down, Microsoft, Apple, Google, I'm buying more because it may look like I lost money depending on how the investment went beforehand. But guess what? Because I know it's on sale and it went down, and I know this rule, never lose money, I'm going to make sure I'm making money by buying more when it's on sale. And to be honest with you, this is what a lot of wealthy people do because they know that people are running away from the market when things are on sale. That's so backwards. Typically, when you walk into a grocery store and things are on sale, you end up buying more than you need. But when it comes to the stock market, we treat it the opposite way. When it comes to investments, we treat it the opposite way. Doesn't make sense. It's on sale. Why are you running from the sale? Go get the sale. So hopefully that was helpful for someone, everyone. Kadeem here. Stay happy, stay healthy, and stay blessed.